All right. So thank you everybody for coming to learn more about obtaining an Associate of Arts in University Studies through Idaho State University's early college program. We are super excited that all of you are joining us tonight. Just a reminder, I know most of you have already been doing this, but if you have not already put your name in the chat box, please do so. We are taking attendance at this meeting, so we just want to make sure that we have you marked as attended. Additionally, if at any point during the presentation you have any questions, go ahead, pop them into the chat box, and we will go ahead and answer those questions as they appear. We'll also take questions at the end of the presentation. So, okay. We are going to do a whole bunch of stuff tonight that hopefully will be very helpful for you. We're going to start with some introductions. We're going to then go over the degree requirements for the associate's degree through early college. We're going to talk about how to become a degree-seeking student, give you some important reminders, some tips for success. Then we're going to talk about some of the next steps, to-dos. We'll go over some of our frequently asked questions, and then we will leave some time at the very end for any questions that you might still have. So we'll go ahead and start with introductions. So my name is Amaya Mansfield. Like I said, my camera is not working, but this is a picture of me. So you can just picture this face talking at you. I am the early college transition advisor for Region 5. So Region 5 covers pretty much from Blackfoot down all the way to the Utah border, as well as over to the American Falls area. So if you're within that realm, I would be your advisor. And my contact information is here as well. And then I will go ahead and let Cameron and Nathan introduce themselves.
All right, so my name is Cameron Sedlacek, and I am the Early College Transition Advisor for Region 6. So that is Blackfoot and everything north of Blackfoot.
Yeah, and my name's Nathan Anderson. I'm the dual credit coordinator, so I kind of work along with these guys and work in the office on just kind of facilitating all this stuff going through.
Awesome. Thank you, guys. We'll go ahead and continue on. So the most important thing that you need to know about obtaining your associate's degree through ISU is that we only have one option for actually graduating from high school with the associate's degree, and that is an Associate of Arts in University Studies. Now, we can certainly help you work towards other associate's degrees and, of course, bachelor's degrees, but this is the only one that you're going to be able to graduate from high school and also graduate with the degree. So just keep that in mind. But we are absolutely happy to help you work towards the requirements for any other major here at ISU. I'm just going to quickly go over the requirements for this specific degree. So the Associate of Arts in University Studies is 60 credits. All associate's degrees at ISU are 60 credits. And it is broken down in three major kind of categories. The first is 37 credits worth of general education requirements. And I'm going to go over that in more detail in a moment. But of course, that's just going to be your math, English, arts, science, all of that. Then there is 15 major credit requirements. And this is broken down into two areas. So, and I'll go over this in more detail as well, but you've got 6 credits that have to come specifically from within our College of Arts and Letters. And then the other 9 can come from most everywhere else within the university. If amongst those 3 areas you have not met the 60 credit requirement, then you just take however many electives needed to get to that 60 credit hours. A couple other things to keep in mind, you do have to maintain a cumulative GPA of 2.0, which is a C average, and that is for the classes that you take from ISU. When you transfer classes from other institutions, those, of course, your GPA does matter, but your GPA doesn't transfer to us, just the credit. If you received credit, you're going to get that. So you really want to make sure that the ISU specific classes that you take, you're doing well in so that you can keep that 2.0 GPA. And then another important thing to note is that 15 credits do have to be specifically from ISU to meet our residency requirements. So 15 credits usually looks like 5 classes, give or take, depending on the credit amount. This is usually really easy for students to do if they are taking classes at their high school that, of course, are through ISU. But if you're doing this and a lot of the classes that you might take at your high school aren't through ISU, just keep in mind you're going to have to take 15 credits through ISU. So you might have to take some online with us or whatever that might be. You'll work with your advisor to figure that out. When you meet with us, we're going to create for you a degree audit, which is basically a visual representation of the degree. So this is what that document will look like. On the left is all of the general education courses, and we'll plug everything into there. On the right are those additional requirements, classes from College of Arts and Letters, classes from elsewhere in the university, as well as electives, and also room for us to make advising notes. So all of our associate's degree students, if we meet with them, they have one of these that is shared with them. So you can always track your progress in that way. Okay, I'm going to kind of dive into the actual requirements now, starting with general education, because this takes up really the bulk of the degree. So we have 9 objectives here at ISU that students have to take classes from. So I'm just going to go through these quickly. Objective 1 is written communication English. This one is very self-explanatory. You take English 1101 and English 1102. AP Lang can also count here. If you get a 3 or a 4 on the AP Lang exam, that covers English 1101. If you get a 5 on the AP Lang exam, that covers 1101 and 1102. Objective 2 is oral communication. So this is speech COM 1101. But we did just this academic year, ISU's advising office added a new class that can fulfill this objective, Biology 1104, Oral Communication in the Sciences. So we will be starting to see that popping up as well. Objective 3 is math. You will take 1 class from this list. Math is one of those that is probably going to depend on your major, because so many majors require a specific math class. So we want to know what your future plans are so that we can place you in the correct math class. For example, the majority of healthcare related majors are going to require statistics, Math 1153. So if you're wanting to go into the health field, we're going to steer you towards stats. Objective 4, humanistic and artistic ways of knowing. You will need to take 2 classes from this objective from 2 different categories. So that's going to be either a fine arts and a foreign language and a humanities, or a fine arts and a humanities. So lots to choose from here. Again, for all of them, really, it's going to depend on your major, what you're going to choose. So that's why it's so important to meet with an advisor. But you'll take 2 from here from 2 different columns. Next is objective 5, which is science. You'll also need 2 classes from this. So one of those has to have a lab. So this lists all of the classes that have required labs as well as optional labs. Next is objective 6, which is social and behavioral ways of knowing. So you'll also take 2 classes from this category from 2 different subjects. So you can see on here that we have like a bunch of history classes that fulfill this objective. If you take 1 history class, you'll need to take a class from another subject within this category. And then like if, let's say you took US history 1 and 2, only one of those would count for this objective and the other one would fit somewhere else. Hopefully that makes sense. Next is objective 7 and 8. So you have to take a class from either objective 7 or 8, not both. So lots of choice here as well. One thing to note about objectives 7, 8, and 9 is that these are our institution-specific classes or objectives. So every university has objectives 1 through 6, that's statewide. But then every university has what's called institution-specific objectives. So that's 7, 8, and 9 for us. These are unique to ISU. Objective 9 is cultural diversity. You'll take one class from this as well. And you can see the options for those as well. Okay, so getting into those 15 credits for the major, like I said, 6 of those credits do have to come specifically from our College of Arts and Letters. So I've listed all of the departments that are included in the College of Arts and Letters that you can choose from. So all of our arts and humanities, as well as all of our social and behavioral sciences. So a lot of those that come from objectives 4 and 6. And then, like I said, 9 additional credits coming from pretty much anywhere else within the university, other than our College of Technology, our ACAD department, our BFIT department, and our DAAC department. That might not mean a lot to you right now. Those are not classes that students are usually taking, so I wouldn't worry about it. If you have any concerns about those, you can reach out. But majority of classes that you're going to take are going to fit within here. Those restrictions, though, can be counted as electives. So like I said, if among all those other things that I just mentioned, you haven't got up to that magic 60 number, then you just take literally anything to get up to 60. So all those College of Tech, ACAD, BFIT, DAAC classes can fit here. Let's say you take a class from another institution that is like doesn't transfer over as anything specific to ISU. As long as you get that credit, it's going to transfer over as an elective for us. So if something doesn't transfer over something specific, it will count as an elective credit. And then a couple other things just to mention. Like I said, if you're taking classes from other institutions, you can transfer those to us and it will count towards your associate's degree. So you can check the transferability at a couple of websites here, and I will send the links to those as well. And you can always ask our registrar's office as well. Okay, I think this is where we are splitting off, and I'm going to go ahead and hand it over to Nathan to go from here.
Awesome. So this slide right here just kind of goes into depth on what requirements it takes to even become an associate student in the first place, to even go for your associate's degree. So you guys might be familiar with this because it's practically the exact same as it is to be an early college student in the first place. And so those requirements are you have to be at least 16 years or older and then hold at least a 2.7 GPA. But there are certain times that say you have a student or there's a student that say is 15 and just kind of advanced. We can waive those with a counselor recommendation. And of course, if you guys have any questions or anything ever on that whole process, or if your student is available to do that or not, you can just reach out to us at our phone number and our email are right there. It's not letting me change slides. There we go. Yeah, so if you guys, we can actually pause right here for a second and let you guys scan that QR code. You can even just scan it and keep it in your Safari. That works too. You don't have to fully fill this out right now. We just want you guys to have that link to go to the intent form. And so this is just kind of letting us know that you want to go for your associate's degree. And also, if you don't have your ISU ID handy or don't know what it is, you can just put not any, and we can just match that later. So yeah, like I said, we can just stay here for a second and save that QR code. And some of you may have already done this possibly.
And the link is also available on the early college website.
Perfect. I think, is anybody else still waiting? Are we good to move on? Okay, I think we're ready to go. Next slide. Perfect. And so after that, after you kind of let us know that you want to be an associate student, you will receive an email from one of your advisors. And how we were talking about earlier, that just breaks down between Maya and Cameron's schools. So whatever school you're going to will depend on which advisor will reach out to you. But this typically happens just about 2 to 3 days after you do fill out that form. So, and after that, you will need to schedule your first meeting with an advisor. And if you guys are located farther away from Pocatello, doing this over Zoom is perfectly fine. Other than that, if you're in Pocatello, you are welcome to come in person also. And during this meeting, you guys will kind of just go over some of the details and the things that you will need to accomplish this associate's degree. So, kind of more in depth of the stuff we already went over, of these objectives and things like this. So, a lot of meeting about classes. Cameron and Amaya do a lot of that. And like it says there, this will actually count as the first meeting for you guys if you're not already one of the students previously. Yeah, so this kind of goes into the step right here, and the steps after this is almost a career exploration. And so, how Amaya was saying that we want to know your guys' career aspirations prior to completing your associate's degree, just so you guys don't have to spend more money and take more time. Because how it says there that there's sometimes specific math requirements, say for your bachelor's degree, and just things like that. We don't want you guys to have to double take classes or double take a math class or take one in the first place that doesn't really do anything for you. So this next step here, step 4, is kind of almost like a personality test in ways. We want students to take this and uh, to go in and take this and to kind of gain a better understanding of what it is they want to do in college. And a lot of you might already actually know what you want to do, but sometimes taking these personality, these career tests can help us all understand what it is that maybe it can fit us better. Sometimes it's even things we haven't even thought of before. And so if you do take this and it does turn out to give you the answer that you're looking for, then you should, for the most part, be fine. But if it does tell you something completely different, we do recommend you go to the next step on step 5. And so if you, like I said, if it is kind of completely different than what you were expecting, we do recommend that you attend a counselor session. And so this will take about an hour, and you can call that number right there to schedule this. And so this will just give you even a better understanding and of maybe what degrees would be better for you in the future or what career paths you would like to go forward on. And then right there too, after you do get that completed, you do want to reach out to our program and let us know that that is something that you have completed. And this next step right here this is actually the step we are currently completing, the parent meeting. And after that, it just kind of lets us let you and your parents know maybe some information that you have been missing beforehand. But yeah, if you ever actually want to have another meeting with your parent one-on-one, that is something that's possible for you to do too. Perfect. And so this goes over the page that Amaya was going over earlier. And so we will need students to have a degree audit session with their advisors. And so this will kind of go over and make sure they have everything completed, right? So a big important part about that is that we receive all of the unofficial transcripts. That we have those before a couple days before the meeting, so we actually have time to go through that too. And so it is important that it's actually unofficial transcripts because we don't want it to be official ones from the other colleges like CSI or things like that, because official transcripts do actually cost money and high school transcripts don't really do anything for us. And so we do need those to be the unofficial transcripts from the colleges, and it can be screenshots or things like that. And you can actually also send those to us on our website. And oh, and there at the bottom, if you also don't know how to find your unofficial transcripts, you can get your CCAs or your counselors to help you at your high schools. Perfect. So students actually are able to attend commencement, and this is just normal ISU commencement. There's nothing special. Say for the early college students, they would be graduating with all of the young and old ISU students. Um, and you also do have the summer to complete some of the extra credits if those are needed. If you're, say, maybe stuck at 57 or something and just need those last 3 credits to get that completed. You do, although, just have to have that completed by July 1st. And then the second step here, when you do think that you're kind of in your senior year and you're getting close to being all the way completed, you will need to start that process for the graduation application in January because those are due in March. So looking beyond the associate's degree, so career bound, we kind of want to make sure that our students don't just get an associate's degree and just kind of stop from there. We want to make sure you guys either continue going to school or continue on into a career, something like that. So one thing that's important is to check your transferability of your associate's degree to these other schools. And so you actually would have to contact these other schools, like say, for example, if you're going to Utah State or something like that, you would have to reach out to Utah State and see how that degree transfers. Um, but that's just something to keep in mind. But if you are coming to ISU instead, it should be kind of an easier process, but you will still apply as a new incoming freshman and go through all of the scholarships and things like that as a normal student. You will just kind of have that some part of it already done. Awesome. I think that this is where I pass it over to Cameron.
All righty. So we're going to talk about whether the associate's degree is the right choice for you or not. Because an associate's degree is not the right choice for every student. Part of this is on the student's shoulders, right? Take the time to research, talk with your counselors. If you are pursuing your associate's degree, you're going to spend a lot of time talking with your high school counselors, especially your college and career counselors. You'll hear us refer to those as your CCAs, to your parents, and to us to see if it will benefit you. For some students, it might be better just to work towards your intended major rather than going for the full associate's degree. We also understand that life happens. We want you to understand that too. So if you do not complete the associate's degree, although those credits are still on your transcript, you're still going to get credit for those classes. So it's never going to be wasted time. And we will work with all students. We really do want you to reach out to us to talk to us. We do want to remind you that it is 60 total credits. And at the college level, instructors expect you to spend about 2 hours out of class working on that class for every 1 hour you're in class. So for a three credit class, instructors expect you to spend about 15 hours a week. Right. So it is a significant time commitment. It does require dedication, and it will require some sacrifices on your part. We don't want you to scare you away. We don't want to scare you away. We also want you to understand that the financial aid clock starts. So financial aid will cover, I think it's 150% of the credit load required for your major. Most majors here at ISU are 120 credits. So financial aid will cover up to 180 credits. And remember that these 60 credits are going to count towards your progress. 37 of those credits are guaranteed to count towards the general education requirements. So there is some buffer here. We also want you to have an idea of what and where you want to study, because like I said, you will have these general education classes out of the way, which means if you do continue on to an undergraduate degree, you are going to start in your major right away. I will say that almost all of the students I've worked with, they know exactly what they want to major in even before they start their associate's degree. I will also say that at Idaho State University, about 75% of undergraduate students change their major at least one time. I know that our admissions person from my territory, she changed her major, I think 6 times as an undergraduate. So that happens. We also want you to make sure that you establish residency credits with ISU. We talked about this earlier in the presentation. That's at least 15 credits, and you must maintain a C average. And some classes, like classes within the College of Arts and Letters, require a C minus or higher to get credit for that class. So if you get a D or lower, you don't get credit for that class. We also want you to do your own research on transferring the degree. We can help you on transferability to ISU, but if you want to talk about transferring to another school, you have to talk to that school because they make the decision on what they accept. We really have no say in that. Private institutions and out-of-state institutions have very different standards. The good news is that schools within the state of Idaho, we all play nice together. We also want to talk about FERPA here for you parents in the room. Idaho State University, in compliance with the Family Education Rights and Privacy Act, or FERPA, is responsible for protecting and maintaining the privacy of student records and judiciously evaluating requests for release of information from those records. Basically, what this means is that if a student is attending Idaho State University, we treat them as an adult. So if a parent calls up and asks, hey, what's my student's grade in this class? Or hey, what classes are my student taking? We legally cannot tell the parent. We can only tell that to the student. Now, I will say that fairly frequently when I meet with a student, The parent is present, but I'm still talking directly to that student. The parent is listening. So the student is the priority in this situation. If you want more information, we have the link here. But I just want to reiterate that the student has total control over their educational records. I do want to emphasize, sorry, I'm stumbling over my words here, emphasize 6 tips for success. Ask for help. If you're ever not sure, even if you're 95% sure, ask for help. This is what we're here for. We want you to ask for help. If you're asking for help, it shows that you want to learn. You should also know who to ask. And again, if you don't know who to ask, you can probably either go to your college and career advisor at your high school or one of us, and we will put you in the right direction. Right? So please ask. We also want you to know how to access advising resources. One of the big ones that I want to emphasize here is My ISU. Every student here who takes their first class through Idaho State University will get a link to claim their ISU account. Claim that account. Check that email frequently. Right? There are a lot of resources there that are great resources that you have at your fingertips. Be organized. Right? Keep a college binder. We strongly recommend this one. One of the big things that we stress is for every dual credit class you take, save the syllabus. We're going to talk about this a little bit later, but if you have a class that does not transfer directly, you can petition for that direct transfer if you still have that syllabus. So hold on to those things. Check your academic records after you register for each class to make sure that you have actually registered for this class. I had this happen last year with a student who was working on her associate's degree. She thought she had signed up for a class. She thought she had registered, but the registration had failed and she didn't know. And it ended up meaning that she did not get her associate's degree. And silver lining is that she did come on to ISU in the fall. So she's going to be able to get that anyway. But we don't want that to happen. So check, double check, triple check. Schedule annual meetings with your ISU advisor. We've talked about this a little bit. If you're one of my advisees, I'm going to want to meet with you every semester to talk about your progress starting in your junior year. Just to make sure, again, that the classes you thought you registered for, you actually took, to make sure those credits are going to transfer, to make sure you got the right grade that you needed to get in that class, things along those lines, just to make sure you're right on track. Yeah. Amaya might not be quite so picky, but if you're one of my students, again, if you are on Blackfoot or north of Blackfoot, you're one of mine, we're going to be meeting frequently. And I do generally prefer to meet via Zoom for some of those, unless you're at a bigger school that I'm up at. For example, students who are at Thunder Ridge High School, I'm going to be there all day tomorrow. If you're at a smaller school, it makes sense to use Zoom. And please, please, please do not wait until deadlines to complete your tasks. I know that registration for spring semester for on-campus classes opened up on Monday. A lot of those general education classes are already full. So register early, register as soon as possible. Meet with your advisor a week or two, or maybe even a month before registration opens to figure out what classes you want to register for so you can register for those classes the first day. Same goes for sending in your transcripts, right? Don't wait until the day before the deadline to send in your transcripts. I know over the summer, CEI had a malware attack and their system was really, really slow. So it took a long time for them to get some of the transcripts to us. So please don't wait until the end of the deadline. I know for some of you seniors, it might seem like once you graduate from high school, you want to take a break. I strongly recommend getting those official transcripts sent as soon as you graduate from high school.
Just want to mention really quick before we go to the next slide, a few of you have trickled in since we started. If you would please put your name in the chat box so we can mark you as having attended, that would be awesome.
All right, so for you juniors out there, we have some to-dos. Right, the first thing that you want to do is send your early college rep your unofficial college transcript. And if you don't know how to get the unofficial transcripts, I'm actually going to drop that into the chat if I can find it. Or I'll wait until the questions part. But we have a PDF that tells you how to get unofficial transcripts from all of the major schools in the state of Idaho. And like I said, I'll drop that in the chat, or you can email us, ask, hey, how do we do this? It's fairly easy. Unofficial transcripts are free, and all of them, except for Northwest Nazarene University, are self-service. You also want to schedule a meeting with your ISU rep to understand where you stand credit-wise, right? To see, okay, have I taken enough credit so far that this is going to be feasible? What is my workload going to be like? We want you to schedule that once in the spring and once in the fall. That's what I meant when I said that I want to meet every semester. We follow ISU's semester system when we're talking about things like this. We're going to do a degree audit so that we can show you where the progress is. I color code mine. So mine, you'll see green are classes that you've taken and passed, yellow are classes that are in progress, red are classes that you still need to take. And students will have access to all of this. We share this degree audit with the student so they can access it at any time. We do want to stress that your high school diploma is more important than your associate degree, right? If you start taking these so share information with the counselors at the high school. We call this transparency, right? So the high school CCAs, they know your high school graduation requirements. We do not know your high school graduation requirements. We know the dual credit side of things. We know the associate degree side of things. So we do work closely with your high school counselors because we all want you to be successful. So for your seniors out there, you will want to send your ACT, SAT, and AP scores to ISU. They will enter in the system. They will be reflected on your ISU transcript. Oh, I should also stress that you don't need to send us ISU transcripts. We have access to all of that. But you send those to all of that. You can look at your ISU transcript through DegreeWorks, which is part of my ISU. You also want to send transcripts from other colleges to ISU. We want you to have consistent contact with the ISU rep in early college, right? Don't ghost us, please. We're going to want to meet once in the spring and once in the fall, again, for the degree audit and mapping of classes. Once it gets closer towards graduation deadlines, you're going to get a lot more communication from us. We want you to research how your degree will transfer to whatever institute of higher education you're going to, if you're going to one. You also want to have constant contact with your school counselors or your CCAs to ensure that you're getting in the right classes your senior year. And then you're going to want to apply for graduation and commencement. So there's actually going to be 3 separate deadlines there. There's one to apply for graduation, that's to get your degree. There's applying for commencement, which is to walk at ISU's graduation ceremony. And that is broadcast live via Zoom. So if you have relatives that are not able to come in person, they can still attend that. Then you will also want to make sure that you order your regalia, right? Your cap, your gown, your stole, all of that stuff. And there is a specific one for associate's degree students. And we will send out frequent communication with these deadlines. We will send out emails, we will send out texts. And please make sure that when you use your email or when you give us your email address, that you use your personal email, not your school email. The reason for this is that once you graduate from high school, you lose access to that school email, and you will not be able to send your official transcripts to us until after you graduate from high school. So after you graduate from high school, we will be contacting you over the summer to get all of this stuff done. So please use your personal email. If you have to make a new school email for this, do it. All right. So some of the frequently asked questions, how will my credits transfer? So that's where you will check with the college you plan to attend. Now, if it's within the state of Idaho and it's general education requirement, it's going to transfer. But if you have any questions, again, reach out to us. Some courses may not transfer as direct course equivalents. They will show as electives. But like I mentioned earlier, if you have saved your syllabi in that college binder that I mentioned, you can petition to have that transferred directly. Now, for the degrees, this is equivalent to about 2 years of college. Realistically, you will have closer to 2.5 years of college left for a bachelor's degree because those majors might have specific general education requirements. They might have requirements to take specific electives within that major. But again, it depends on your major. So the associate's degree in Idaho is course certified, which means that general education courses are done. I do know for a fact that, say, BYU Idaho might be a little picky about taking direct transfer courses, but if you have that associate's degree, they will waive all of the general education requirements. And that's just one example. All right. What is a transcript? We get this question a lot, and we talk a lot about transcripts. So, a transcript is basically an academic record. It shows what classes you have taken. So, your high school transfer, the one that you will send to us after you graduate from high school, will show your high school graduation date. That is proof that you have graduated high school, and that's the kind of high school transcript we need. College transcripts show all of the college courses you've taken, when you've taken them, how many credits they were worth, and what grade you received on them. So we need college transcripts from every college you have taken a dual credit course through so that they will transfer. Now, we will accept unofficial transcripts for everything except your final degree check. And you will send us those official transcripts after you have graduated high school and after you have completed all of the coursework and received a grade in those dual credit classes. Right. When you apply to college, will you apply as a transfer or a new freshman? You are a new freshman, even if you are not a freshman credit-wise. And if you are getting your associate's degree, you are probably going to be coming to ISU as a junior credit-wise, but you will apply as a new freshman. All right. When will you get your ISU diploma with your associate's degree? There are actually 2 dates. So you will be a summer graduate, but we have 2 summer graduation dates, right? So if you send your transcripts in by mid-July, you will probably, or if you send your transfer, let me start over, sorry. If you send your official transcripts to us by mid-June, you will get your degree mid-July. If you send those to us by mid-August, you will get your diploma sometime in September. It takes about 6 weeks after graduation, after they process your graduation to get your transcript. And they have not released these official dates to us. Once they release the official dates to us, we will release them to you. And like I said, we will talk to you multiple times, send out multiple emails, multiple texts with all of these deadlines. And once it gets close to the deadline, we will send out individual texts, individual emails to these students. All right. Will fast forward pay for the whole degree? Technically, yes. All right. So there are 60 total credits required for the Associate of Arts degrees. The cost is $75 a credit. Fast forward, or you might have heard it called advanced opportunities, will pay for $4,625 of that $4,500. So that comes out to about 61 credits. Now, realistically, most students I advise do go over that 61 credit limit, but you still only pay that $75 a credit, which is a huge discount over I think ISU's tuition is about $430 a credit for undergraduates, and that is still fairly affordable. So 2 years of college tuition at Idaho public universities, this has saved about $15,000. I think it's closer to $20,000 to $25,000 now. But it depends on which school you choose to go to. But that's a great savings, right? So who do you contact with questions about the associate's degree or about ISU dual credit? The answer is really any of us. Right. So again, if you are south of Blackfoot, Amaya is your contact. If you are in Blackfoot or north, I am your contact. If you're not sure, contact one of us. You can contact the early college desk, which is going to be Nathan here. You can email him at just ecp@isu.edu, and he'll get back to you on that. So, but really, any of us will answer some of the questions, or will at least put you in the right direction.
And if you're homeschooled, I didn't put this on here. If you're homeschooled, you'll meet with me.
All right. And some of the resources that you'll receive for attending this meeting, right? How to claim your account, which gets you into My ISU, which gets you your email address. So your login is just going to be your first name, your last name. Unless you have a common name, like Nathan here is Nathan Anderson 7, because it's fairly common. I am just Cameron Sedlacek because I have never met another Cameron Sedlacek. In fact, I have never met another Sedlacek that I was not related to. You'll also get your associate's degree checklist, instructions for the Focus 2 career assessment, the Gen Ed sheet, how to obtain these unofficial transcripts, how to obtain official transcripts and AP exams, tips for success, campus resources, and a campus map for Pocatello and for Idaho Falls.
Yes, tomorrow morning I'm going to send out an email with all of these resources. So you will get those tomorrow. This is our last slide. I didn't create a slide that asks for questions. I'm sorry, but at this point, we're happy to answer any questions that you might have.
The email you just mentioned, is that going to the student or the parent?
It's going to go to both. So whatever, when the student put their name in the chat box, I'm going to look at their RSVP for this meeting and send it to both the student email and the parent email that was filled out for that.
Okay, thank you.
And someone asked if we're going to be recording. Yes, I am recording this meeting. We're going to upload it to YouTube. And then once that upload is finished, we will send that out. I'll probably wait and to send the resources until we've got that, and I'll include a link. And yes, I will include this slideshow as well.
Sorry. I saw that someone asked if they were 15, what can they do right now? And like I said, as long as we do receive, if we can get a counselor recommendation, you can start those dual credit classes now. So you won't have to wait till you're 16 if we do get a counselor recommendation.
Other questions?
And I will say this is very feasible. We have a lot of students who do this. I think last year in my territory, I had 38 students get their associate's degrees.
Fast forward funding. Yeah. So every time you take a class, was this going to depend on the district that you are in? Hallie, what school district are you from? Okay, Blackfoot. Cameron, do you know, do they request their own funding?
I don't know. I think Angeline might do it, but that's a question that you should talk to your CCA about.
Yeah, so for every single class that you take, you'll need to submit a separate funding request. Some districts, the student does that themselves. Some district, the counselor does it for them. So you'll go and talk to your counselor to see how that works. But yeah, every semester, whatever class you take, you'll just submit those requests, and then the funding will be taken care of. Hopefully that answers the question.
And it is a pretty simple process, but you do just need, your counselor, your CCA to set up your account first.
So in Pocatello, if you run out of funding, then you are just responsible for paying the whatever is left. So our classes are offered at $75 per credit. So if that's a 3-credit class, then it's $225. And so if you run out of that funding each semester, you'll need to go to ISU's website and pay it. So that's through my ISU. And I'm going to send out information about adding our early college program card to your my ISU account. And there's a link on there that goes to the payment website. It's very simple. It tells you how much you owe, and then you just put in your credit card information or whatever. You can also pay with cash or check physically out on our campus at the cashier's office in the administration building. If you ever look and your funding looks not right, sometimes like things can get a little wonky for associate's degree students, especially if you are a senior and you've applied for ISU, because then they think that you're like an incoming student. Sometimes it can get weird. So if it looks odd, please reach out to us and we can help you figure that out.
Yeah, we definitely don't want you guys to pay more money than you have to.
Yeah, and that can also affect transcripts. If you have an outstanding balance at a college or university, they usually will not send transcripts to other schools until you have paid off that balance. And I should also add another helpful piece of information is the difference between a drop and a withdrawal. So if you enroll in a class and you drop it before the drop deadline, it's like you were never enrolled in that class at all. There are no repercussions. If you withdraw from a class, it does still show up on your transcript, and that can affect your fast forward funding. So if you withdraw from a class or if you fail a class, your funding is frozen and you will have to pay for another class out of pocket, pass that class, and then the state will unfreeze your fast forward funding. So pay attention to the add drop deadlines and the withdraw deadlines. We send out that information as well every semester to our students. It's available on ISU's website. So if you ever have any questions, please ask. And for those of you who are taking classes in the high school, we come with registration sheets, and that includes the add drop and withdrawal deadlines on it.
Just to answer this other question in the chat, after this meeting, what do I need to do other than the QR code? That's the only action item that you have to do right now. Once you fill that out, we are going to reach out to you to schedule a meeting to go over next steps and get your degree audit going and get the ball rolling. Could a student take the 5 ISU classes, 15 credits remotely the same semester, or are they required to take some in-person classes at the high school each trimester? So I will say that we limit students on the amount of classes that they can take each semester. Technically, the limit is 7 credits. Sometimes if a student is really gung-ho, I every once in a while will let them take a few more than that. So you wouldn't be able to take all of them at the same time. But that being said, you do not have to take any like in-person classes if you don't want to. You can do everything fully online at whatever pace works for you, as long as we get all those requirements done before, of course, that graduation deadline.
And some courses do have prerequisites. Some of the math classes require you have taken a previous math class. English 1101 is a prerequisite for English 1102, so you have to take 1101 before you take 1102. So sometimes it might just make more sense to stagger them out. And we don't want students to get burnt out. We don't want students to be taking 5 math classes in one semester. Right? That could be overload for that. Or we don't want students to be taking 5 science classes, 5 biology classes. Right? Students do that, and a lot of them do get burnt out, get overwhelmed. But again, it depends on each student. And this is why we want to meet with these students frequently. We want to get to know these students personally. We want to know what's best for them. What are they strong at? What are they weak at? What might be some advice that we give them as an individual rather than just a student pursuing an associate's degree.
And I do also want to mention this is going to, of course, depend on like where you're located, right? Some of our schools have tons of dual enrollment classes offered at a school. For example, Century High School in Pocatello, students can, if they start early, do the entire degree in their high school. But other schools only have a few classes. So everything is going to be tailored to each student's experience to figure out, okay, do you want to take the classes in your high school? Which ones can you take in the high school? And where do we need to fill in the gaps by you taking classes on our campus or online with our professors? My student wants to start dual credits next semester. Is this a reasonable time frame? Yes, absolutely. Registration for the spring semester opened 2 days ago on Monday. So please have your student reach out and we will get the ball going and get some classes for next semester.
And I do recommend doing that somewhat fast, as I think the classes will start to pick up on registration and fill up relatively quick.
And I don't think anybody's asked it here, but I've had it asked before. I have never seen an associate student who only took classes through ISU. The vast majority of associate degree students are taking classes from 4 or 5 different schools. CEI, CSI, CWI, and NNU are the big ones. Every now and then a little bit from Boise State, but just students taking what classes are available. And like Nathan said, the classes are filling up. So if a class is full here, we might say, okay, the class is full at ISU, but I know the College of Eastern Idaho offers that. Why don't we go talk to the CCA there, or not the CCA, the early college advisor there?
And even if they are taking them to the high school, you would want to chat with the high school counselor about that specifically. Yeah, if you're able to get your student into whatever classes might be offered in the spring at the school, that might be a possibility. We're certainly open to that, but of course, that's going to depend on scheduling and availability within the school. So, yeah, you want to chat with the school counselor about the classes in the high school.
And I'll also add, there really isn't much difference between taking these dual credit classes at the high school, at least through ISU, and taking them on campus, because every one of our high school teachers meets the qualifications to teach that course on ISU's campus. All right, so it is actually a college class taught at the high school. It just has the benefit of the student might be in a familiar setting or be with familiar classmates, so they might feel a little bit more comfortable. But we also, at least for students who are a bit closer, have students who come to take classes on ISU's campus. We have a lot of students who will take some of the online classes that are offered. For students in the Idaho Falls area, they will go to our Idaho Falls campus. We do have quite a few classes offered there. So there's just a lot of options. And this is why we want students to meet with us to figure some of these things out.
Any other questions? How
So
many
it does
credits?
depend. Oh,
Sorry,
sorry.
Nathan. You can go ahead.
Yeah, so we just saw the question here that goes, how many credits are each classes typically? And so, as we said earlier, there are a couple that are going to be a little different, like 2 credits, but for the most part, 3 credits is I would say like 90+% of classes are going to be 3 credits.
With a couple of exceptions. So science classes that have a lab are 3 credits for the class plus 1 credit for the lab. And foreign language classes are usually 4 credits. And then we'll have some like Math 147 is 5 credits because it's the 3 credit Math 143 plus the 4 credit or the 2 credit Math 144 combined. But yeah, I have never seen one over 5 credits, and there are a couple 1 credit classes that we will recommend students take, say, if they're sitting at 59 credits. I also see somebody say a dual enrollment teacher told me that you guys will come to the high school. Is that true? For a lot of high schools, yes, we will come into the high school classroom to help you register for your classes. We'll help you take care of advanced opportunities funding if your school has you do that. We will tell you about some of the benefits that you get as early college students. Because when you take dual credit classes through ISU, you are a student at Idaho State University, right? These students are college students, and it comes with some benefits. But again, it just depends on what high school. So, what high school are you from?
While we wait for, oh, go ahead. That response came in.
Blackfoot. So, yes, I go out to Blackfoot to register students for classes. Let me see if we have.
Okay, while we wait, I'm going to answer this next question. How do I take online ISU classes? We have a list of classes that are, I'm sharing my screen, so I'm just going to show you how you can find these. If you go to our website, which is isu.edu/ECP, and then you go to registration and you go to on-campus dual enrollment, you can see our class offerings. So these are all the classes that are being offered in the spring 2026 semester. And you can register for them on dual enroll the same way that you would register for any other dual enrollment class.
Okay, and yes, Landon, I will be out at Blackfoot on December 4th registering students for the classes within the high school.
Brent, you say the county form needs to be filled out every semester, even if I am from Pocatello and ISU is in Pocatello. What is the county form? Do you mean for advanced opportunities? That because that does need to be filled out for every single class. When will you be at Pocatello High School? I am having my next office hours at Pokey on December 4th. I will be there. Okay, so yes, Advanced Opportunities form is online. If you just search Idaho Advanced Opportunities, it will pop up. But I will say, Advanced Opportunities, we are not so much the experts. You'll want to talk to your high school counselor. Century, I will be there next on
What was it?
December 3rd. And you can, if you're ever curious about when I'm going to be at Century or Pokey, you can ask the CCAs and they have that schedule. I also am doing office hours at Malad once a month. So if you're ever interested in that. And I don't have office hours at the other high schools, but I'm happy to set up meetings if that's something that you're interested in. Like at Highland, I'll just set up individual meetings.
And it looks like we got a question from Sarah about Reed's Gym. And so ECP students, they do have a lot of the benefits that normal college students do with their bingo cards and things like that. But Reed's Gym is actually one that they do kind of limit a little bit. I believe it's a $60 pass that they have to buy per semester. So it does make it a little bit cheaper for them, but they don't get Reed's Gym for free, sadly.
And that's because students don't pay any of the fees, right? They just pay the $75 per credit. And I will also say that if the student is a minor, they will need to bring a parent or guardian with them the first time they go to Reed Gym to sign the liability waiver.
So, Landon, to answer your next question about freshmen, I'm not sure if Cameron meets with freshmen specifically. Most of the time, freshmen are not on our radar because traditionally students don't start taking dual enrollment classes until junior year, sometimes sophomore year. So usually like we don't even know who the freshman students are. So if you're a freshman and you want to meet with Cameron when he's at your school, reach out to him or to the counselors and you can probably get that set up.
Yeah, so you can reach out to Angeli Daly at Blackfoot. She is the CCA, so she will be talking, or she does talk with me frequently about students, arranges visits. And if there are enough students who want to talk to me about dual credit, I'll make a trip up there and meet with students about it. And that goes for any school in my territory.
Would it be better to register for spring semester classes on our own with our school CCAs or in a meeting with you? I always recommend meeting with us just to make sure that the classes that you are taking do fully align with the degree requirements. The CCAs are also very helpful. If you want to meet with them and get registered for classes, that's totally acceptable. But we always do appreciate it if you then send an email and say, hey, I'm planning on taking these classes. Does that sound good?
And I will also add to that, it depends on what school you are at. Some of the schools that I work with, their CCAs have a very specific path that students take, and they have it scheduled out. So students will always take this class their sophomore year, these classes their junior year, these classes their senior year to get on track. So, for example, if anybody here is at Madison High School, talk to your CCAs because they have a very specific path that they would like you to follow.
Any other questions? If not, we will let everybody go. If you do have a remaining question, you can stick around and ask it. But otherwise, thank you so much for joining us tonight. And we are hoping that you got some questions answered and some information. And if you do have questions, please reach out.
And thank you for attending. We look forward to working with some of you that we have not met yet. And I see some familiar faces. Thank you for coming.
Yeah,
Well,
thank you.
familiar names.
Yeah.
I was kind of curious if you guys know, I'm an ISU employee. With the fees and stuff associated with this, would my child fall under like the half tuition type thing with this program?
I'm not positive, but I think since the early college program is already discounted, I think that it kind of negates the discount we get as employees,
Yes, that's
that it doesn't
correct.
kind of double add on top of each other.
Unfortunately, they are not eligible for the half price. I also learned, I have a parent that works at ISU, and I learned that the hard way when I did Bengal Bridge. It was not half priced.
Oh,
But I would assume like when they, I guess maybe I don't understand how it works well enough, but when they do become a full-time student, I believe that they should be eligible, right? Is that right, Amaya? Or
Yes,
is it still limited?
once it's because it's
I thought so.
already such a discounted tuition. Once they're paying normal
Yeah,
tuition rates, then that will kick in.
that's what I was thinking. Awesome.
okay, thank you.
Okay, I'm gonna go ahead and stop the recording. Thank you so much, everyone.
Yep. Thank you.